and good evening. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Inspire. I am your host, Shah Hayes, and whichever way you're looking is our founder and CEO of Inspire, Kiana. We are so excited. I know, first of all, I know Kiana is way excited
You
because
already know it.
when Kiana first told me she was booking our next guest, she was telling me how she just saw him and how hilarious. She was like full fledged stalking him at one of his shows. And she was like backstage, like, I'm gonna get to him, I'm gonna get to him. And she did. And she was able to get him to come on here and take part of this show so we can, stalk him a little bit more and get up all in his business. And without further ado, I want to introduce Ryan Day, comedian who you have seen on Insecure, Curb Your Enthusiasm. You go check his website out to go find out where you can get tickets to see him locally in your town. And for some of us who know him from the most recent Insecure episode, you will not look at a Vino ever again. So the same way. But we're so excited to have him on here.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. Oh my gosh, I've been looking forward to being on here. And she did hunt me down and told me about the show, and I looked into it, and I promised her that I was going to do it.
Yes, you did.
I promised, which is very key for anybody who see this. We're like, how do you get Ryan Davis to do anything? If I don't promise to do it, you got to look. When I that's how you don't even have to worry. I'll tell you exactly how to go about making sure I do it. So.
Yep, and he kept his word.
There. Your word is your bond. Your word is your bond. That's awesome.
Yes, you definitely kept your word, and we are so honored to have you. And thank you for agreeing to be a part of it. It means a lot.
This is. I was, like I said, I was looking forward to it. I like what you ladies are doing.
Thank you.
So, Shah, take it away.
Thank you. So I'm going to get all up in your business real quick. So I like to normally start off with the journey as if we were just like chronologically putting your life together based on if you was telling a story about your life. And I always think about comedians and how people have the perceptions of what they think comedians are. They always often think that they were the class clowns and the one everybody thought was going to be this because they were that way when they were younger. But then there's often those people don't realize they could be very introverted, people who don't often, be the one, the jester in the group and all that. Which one were you growing up?
The introvert.
The
only knew I was funny were my friends, my close friends knew I was funny. Most people had no idea. I don't know. I was raised by strict parents too, so that the opportunity to be a class clown was never really there.
Because you knew what was going to happen if they got a call saying you was being a class clown.
Your teacher did what?
Right.
Those parents. So class clown was not a thing. I was really shy. I'm still kinda, but I was for a long time. But what broke me out of my shell is I ended up working customer service for years. And when you work customer service, they push you to greet people when they come through the door, ask them if they found everything, you ask, can you help? So now I'm just not afraid of people. I talked to strangers for 13 years or more doing customer service. So
So doing customer service broke you out of the shell. Were you using humor at that point to help you engage people?
Oh yeah, customers thought I was hilarious.
Really?
Like, it was so funny. Once I did come out of my shell some, whenever I told people I was actually going to start doing stand-up, it was a resounding yes from everybody. Everybody was like, yes, we've been wanting you to do, this is your thing. And I was like, I never really thought that I was funny like that. I don't know. Even, it's still surprising to me that so many people gravitate toward my humor.
So when you think about being a child, and like you said, you were very introverted, you had to watch things on television that would make you laugh. What was the thing that you would often go to and be like, all right, this is the thing I need to see that's going to bring me joy?
Actually, my parents were comedy fans. So I remember the night Chris Rock's very first special, Bring the Pain, came on TV. It was one of those things where my parents was like, turn everything off. this TV's on. This is the only thing happening. Either be in here watching it or be in your room in complete silence because don't mess this up. Like, yeah, they watch Def Comedy Jam, Comic View.
Really?
I grew up watching comedy specials and stand-up comedy.
So although they were strict, they wasn't like to the point where they wouldn't allow you to listen to, because a lot of that stuff has a little profanity and a little kind of
My parents,
gratuitous content in it.
I have I very young parents, so
Oh,
so they didn't have, you know what I mean. They weren't very restrictive. They were restrictive about what you say. You can hear whatever, but that isn't for you to repeat. You know, you can
okay.
whatever because I mean, all these things are just microcosms of what the world really is. They didn't try to hide the world from us. We just knew respect boundaries. There's just
Yeah.
certain, no matter what you hear or see, you know, there's certain things you shouldn't do or say in our presence or do or say at all. They let us know where those boundaries were. That's kind of how my parents operated. Watched a lot of In Living Color growing up. So it was, man. I was exposed to comedy a lot. My parents loved to laugh.
So outside of that exposure, I'm assuming you had a few jobs prior to. So when you were going through life and you just said, all right, I'm going to take on these jobs. Was at that point, were you just working to work, or you had already knew in your mind you wanted to do comedy?
I was working just to work, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Comedy was the furthest thing from whatever. Hold on one second. Hold on one second.
His Amazon package just came, y'all. You know how them Amazon deliveries. Or no, it's actually FedEx. Because FedEx, they don't leave their stuff. If you don't have the slip that you can sign, they're gonna take you to the thing. You gotta go to the center, pick it up, and all that kind of stuff. So that's
wait for them to deliver it again.
Yes.
So the jobs, I come from a small city. So
and where's that small city? Tell everyone, our audience.
It's about 100,000 people there, but you can fit all of that in the Michigan College Stadium. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not like it's not a huge city by any stretch. So there, you graduate high school, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, you work that job until your back breaks, and you take care of your family. That was pretty much where I thought my life was going. Dreaming wasn't something that a lot of people did. I mean, if you were a dreamer, you were a good athlete and took you further than that. But for the most part, my a lot of my friends were the first people I saw go to college and go and have careers and stuff like that. But I didn't see a lot of that growing up.
So it wasn't an ambition for you in terms of job wise. You didn't have any other job ambitions. Like there wasn't like a career aspiration that you had, and then you were focusing on that.
I wanted to be a sports journalist.
Really? Wow.
I wanted to be a sports journalist. I wanted to be the first thing you saw when you turned on ESPN in the morning. Stuart Scott was like the coolest guy in the world to me. And I wanted to be like Stuart Scott, but I wanted to do it. So a lot of my friends know me to be like just a wealth of useless information. Like I
love that.
Just info crammed in here. It actually became very useful in comedy. But I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a journalist. So I've always had all this information. I've all these sports statistics that make absolutely no sense for anybody to know crammed into my head because I really thought that's what I was going to do. But then I went to college, and the first 2 years, you're not even doing anything in that field. I want to be a sports writer. Why am I dissecting a frog? Like, can y'all please just and stay focused on it? It was like school, just the way school is done, it wasn't conducive to the way that I wanted to reach my goals.
Right.
Like,
you want the focus.
Yeah, I'm not patient like that. I got to be doing it. So, so I left school. I didn't want to do school. I just had jobs. you know, and then I went and saw a stand-up comedy competition. I was kind of depressed, man. I wasn't really living in my purpose. I kind of had this feeling I was destined for more than what I was doing. But,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't have a reason to do it. You know what I mean? I didn't know what the thing was. I wasn't really the thing I was passionate about. I didn't want to do what it took to get there because it wasn't, so I went to a comedy. I was depressed. My friends took me to a comedy competition, and I watched the comedy competition. And then my friend was like, "Man, you funnier than all of them." And I was like, but they have the bravery to get on stage. You're forgetting about that very important part
Right.
of the
Yes.
process where they have to get on stage and talk in front of people they don't know. Yeah, I can't do that. And so that was April 2013, whenever that happened. And my friend kept trying to talk me into it, and I was like, yeah, nah. And then in June 2013, Kevin Hart's Let Me Explain came out, where he did the 2 shows at Madison Square Garden. And at the end of that movie, Kevin Hart is crying because he sold out Madison Square Garden, and he was just like, I literally saw the moment somebody realized their dream. It let me see the moment that somebody who dreamed of something, who worked more than half of their life to get to a point, and to see that dream realized and see that grown man crying tears of joy just to be doing the thing he loved. And I was like, I want that feeling.
Yeah.
I want to do that thing. And then 3 days later, I got on stage for the first time.
Wow. Wow.
So you got on stage for the first time after having that moment.
I can see
Say
you
it again.
I can see him doing sports, like commentating
Oh, yeah.
for sports. I can definitely see it. So don't let that go away. I would love to see that.
No, I agree. I agree.
Content, but I love sports. I always will.
Yeah, I can see it though.
I think definitely you will be able to peek in there because sometimes they have comedians come on and commentate some portions of the after game to do the highlight reel. But so now let's talk about your first time on stage. It's almost like literally like birth. It's like you're literally coming into yourself. So tell me about that. Did you have jokes prepared or did you just kind of come off the top of the dome?
I will never come off the top of the dome. That is not at all. Craft way too much. Because coming off the dome is a separate skill in itself too. But I don't recommend that for anybody. You should have a plan. If anything you want to be successful at, I feel like that's just important to me. You should have a plan. So I had material that I wanted to do. The show that I did, they actually encouraged you to boo. I was like,
They did? They actually encouraged the audience to boo you?
They encourage the audience to boo if they don't like you. And if they do like you, they give you a minute. If they don't like you after a minute, they can boo. If they do after a minute, they can clap. And then they'll add 2 more minutes to the clock. You go to 3 minutes. Same process. And if they like you after 3, you go to 5. And after 5, you go to 7. And if you make it to the whole 7, then your set is done. Congratulations. And I made it to the whole 7 minutes.
Off your first time.
Very first time. And
so what do you attribute that to? Because I always say when you get on stage for the first time, although you've watched it, you don't know really what to expect. And you don't know whether or not your jokes are going to land. How did you feel like, had you been preparing because you've been practicing with your friends? How did you get to the point where you was able to have a 7-minute full set?
I stopped before the whole 7 minutes. After they clapped 5, I think I told one more joke. And I was like, I'm not even going to lie to you guys. Never even thought I'd make it this far. So, there for 7. But they gave me the whole 7. I couldn't take the whole 7. And I'm not one to try to overstay my way. I'll do exactly what I'm capable of and I'll go. So we did. So I practiced to myself. I only said my jokes to myself. I remember grabbing like a remote control, like it was a microphone, and just I mean, just walking around saying the jokes to myself because I just didn't want the. I didn't want a lot of things to be my first, like my first time, because I've never really had to speak into a mic before.
Mm.
I've never really had to talk to a group of people and try to maintain eye contact with multiple people instead of just looking into one place. So it was those things that I wanted to work on instead of, because you don't know what the jokes are going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I did understand how to write a joke because I was such a comedy fan.
Okay, so you knew drug structure.
I
You
knew
knew about all that part. Okay, got it.
because I didn't even know the verbiage. I didn't know premise, setup, punchline, but I
Mm-hmm.
knew, you have the general idea of what it is. You have the setup for it, and then you have your reveal. So that's the way I would have described it before I knew the words premise, setup, punchline. But every joke I did was premise, setup, punchline. I didn't tell stories like that or anything. It was a lot of misdirection. It was a lot of taking you down a road this way, and the punchline be so far left. And I attribute that to Dave Chappelle. I was a huge Dave Chappelle fan, and
Yeah,
he would tell jokes like that all the time, where you couldn't see the punchline coming, and it would come from way left field. So
yeah,
I wrote these jokes, and they were just working out. And I remember after the show, some local comedians, some of them had said, "Man, you're pretty good, man. You don't have to lie to people and tell them it was your first time." And I was like, "Nah, it really was my first
wow.
time." They were like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." And I got that a lot as I progressed through comedy. Like even when I was 6 months in, people would always go, "How many years you been doing it?" And I'll be like, "I haven't even been doing it a year." And
Mm,
really, so it was something that didn't come easily, but came naturally.
yeah.
Yeah, I was made for this, but the work had to be done.
Well, especially you think about because when you said 2013, I was like, well, maybe he misspoke. It's meant to say 2003, but you've been like you literally, your born date on stage was in 2013. So that's what 8 years ago.
Mhm.
There are people who've been doing it 20 years and still haven't gotten to where you are. Now, can you, and not so much as the skill wise, but maybe your exposure. Do you attribute any of that success to social media?
I contribute all of the exposure to social media for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I recognize the changing of the guard. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
old school when it comes to stand up comedy. Like like there's acting, there's sketch, there's all these various forms of comedy. But to me, stand up is the purest form of comedy.
Yeah.
So even though I excelled at making social media content, to me, you find out how good a comedian is when you see the stand up. That's just
Yeah.
for me. Like Chris Spencer always says, he told me this, and I always make sure I credit him because when he told me, he's like, "You can use this," I won't get mad, but I always credit people for the gems I get. And, and stand up comedy is the one thing where it's written, performed, and produced by you. There ain't
Yeah.
nobody else helping you. It is a testament to who you are as a comedian.
I say all this. I would say it's the hardest profession to ever have because there's no backup dancers, there's no accompaniment guitar player, pianist. Like it's you.
You.
That is it.
Like,
That's one of the things. Like it's like,
the crazy part is people come out to see music and they just want to hear their song. And as long as you do their songs, they're happy.
mm-hmm.
Stand up comedy, they want to not know your jokes in advance. They don't want to
Yeah,
they already heard. And they come with the idea of you better be funny.
yeah.
You
It's like literally, you better make me laugh or else.
so
And
just
it's like it is one of the hardest things to try to balance it because you're trying to get your jokes across and entertain the audience. But it is the thing where you have to commit to entertaining the audience with your jokes. So, no matter what, people always say, "Well, I can do this. I can be funny." And I'm like, "No, you think you can,
you
but
think
can you really?"
tell you this. The loudest thing you can ever hear on stage is silence.
Yes.
People think being booed is the worst thing. Hearing a pin drop, when you're thinking you're trying to be funny is I'd rather you boo me. I'd rather you give me something.
At least you're engaged, right?
Yeah, engage with me something. I can try to turn it around. But when you see people look
So
at you like this,
they might as well just turn their whole back. They must be
oh, people
sitting
do
up,
that too. They turn their back and start having conversations. Yeah, going on up there. So after this, you trying to go to Waffle House?
right? There's a whole nother conversation happening. So you tell the story of how you killed your first time. Tell a story about when you bombed.
The first time I really, really killed, I did a show. My guy D.S. Sanders, one of my mentors, had a room in Charlotte. It was at the Moorhead Tavern in Charlotte, and he was letting young comics come up and get an opportunity to do a short set. And he let everybody know they were new comics. We were all a year in or less. You know what I mean? And he was just giving us opportunities, and he was bringing comics from around the country in the headline and stuff, and just giving us a shot, which, you know, in hindsight, I realize is not even a thing a lot of people do.
No, yeah.
So I was just fortunate to get that opportunity. And I remember I did a set and I got a standing ovation. And that was the first time I truly killed. Excuse me. I tried to get the water hoping I wouldn't cough you to death, but
That's okay.
nothing's working.
Keeping it real right here on Inspire, no problem.
I got a standing ovation. In hindsight, I understand I got the standing ovation because that was a really good set for somebody who had only been doing it a year. Now, if I do that set right now, people would be like, I expect more out of him as a national tour. So
Yeah.
I realized that, but the worst, I've only bombed once, and I'll never forget it. I will never forget it. I was at the Omega House in Charlotte. Tito Kuntz has been running that room for like 20 plus years. Longest running room in Charlotte. He saw me perform somewhere else. He was like, "Kid, I believe in you. I want to give you an opportunity to feature at my show. A good paying spot, you know what I mean? Where you do a longer set." And I was like, "Cool." And I was happy. I invited friends out. It was a girl that I liked who was in the front row. I was like, "Yeah, this is I'm gonna show everybody." And I was overconfident. Man, I went in there thinking it was gonna be a breeze, and I didn't connect with the audience at all. And the part that made it so bad is I was the only one to bomb. Everybody who was up before me killed. Anybody who went after me killed. So it's like the whole show was great except you. That was a bomb.
So when you think about that moment, do you think about, because I'm assuming it's probably the same jokes. Was
Yep,
it
it
just
was the
you to
exact same jokes.
right? Is it just you went in there like telling them after you got to the punchline, you was like, they about to laugh, so I ain't got to really punch it up enough. Like, were
Yeah,
you
it's
like doing that?
something about me that they saw in me. It was like that rubbed them the wrong way. People forget it's a whole performance. Everything, your eyes, your all your mannerisms, your posture says a
Mm-hmm.
lot about you whenever
Mm-hmm.
delivering this material. And I learned that day that
Mm-hmm.
they might have read me as arrogant. You know what I mean? That day,
Yeah, yeah.
once,
And it comes across. And
yeah,
I always think, like, whenever I think about like people doing comedy and they think they can get hammered and get on stage and that, because I'm always funny when I'm with my friends and I'm drunk, and they get on stage and they're always like bomb because they're like, they don't realize no one's hearing anything you're saying because you're telling the jokes in your head. So
yeah. I'm gonna tell you another thing people think. They're like, I'm funny with my friends. Well, your friends know you. They know
yeah.
experience, they know your sense of humor, they know, you know what I mean? So to make them laugh, you don't have to work as hard. A complete stranger doesn't know your sense of humor. They don't know your life. They don't know what you've been through. And you got to connect with them in such a way that they get all this information
Mm-hmm.
in a short period of time so they can get on board with the joke. That's the hardest part about comedy for me.
Yeah. So although you were able to be a student,
I think she's frozen. Are you frozen?
I was just making sure it wasn't me.
I think she's I think she's actually frozen. Let's see. Shy, you're frozen.
I wasn't gonna say anything. I was like, I was just gonna sit here and act like I was listening until it came back.
so sorry, I had in that everybody started getting on their smart devices in this house.
I was wondering. I'm like, we're looking like, I think she's frozen.
But I was gonna say in terms of like, what would you suggest for someone who wants to get into comedy as far as learning joke structure, how to perform on stage? What would you suggest they start out if they don't have, the knowledge of learning it in the household?
Um, yeah, my thing. These are three things. These are three things. If you really want to be a comic, that that you should do. One, you should watch everybody. If there's a comedy show somewhere around, you should go to that. You should go and see how everybody conveyed their humor.
Mm-hmm.
You should watch even comedians that I don't think are funny.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go watch them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the audience is laughing, clearly there's something that they do
Mm-hmm.
that is resonating with people. You can
Yeah.
always learn another skill from somebody. You know what I mean? You're never going to be the perfect comedian. You can always learn something else. There might be something that person does that takes that can take your comedy to another level. Like, for example, I'm very cerebral in the way that I put my jokes together. So comedians who are very physical, like a Arnaz J,
Mm-hmm.
is not typically a comedian that I would go watch, but I can learn how he takes parts of storytelling, and things and bring it to life in such a way that it makes people laugh so hard that you know what I mean, they're crying or falling out of the chair. And just
Mm-hmm.
because that doesn't resonate with me, I can look at that and go, you know what, Ryan? You may be cerebral, but you do need to work on your performance, because obviously performance is a very big part of what this is as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
so I always look at Cat Williams as like a balance between me. Cat Williams does cerebral stuff, he does politics, all that stuff, and then he'll fall all over the stage, jump and tackle the stool. He'll do
Yeah.
whatever it takes. So it's like, and you see how big he is because of it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
understood how to touch everybody. He giving everybody what they need. Everybody who's out there is getting something that they desire from their type of humor. And I feel like that's how you become one of the greats. So watch everybody. That's one.
Yeah.
Two, be honest about who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Be honest about who you are. If you're a person who's not vulnerable, right? And you don't want to talk about your life, you don't have to talk about your life
Mm-hmm.
to talk about your point of view.
Mm-hmm.
How do you really think about this? Even if it's unpopular, even if most people, the matter of fact, if it's unpopular, even better.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's less likely that somebody else has a joke like that. But it has to don't be a contrarian. Don't say, "Oh, I'm gonna just take the opposite side because it's unpopular." You
Mm-hmm.
feel this way, then they can tell that you really feel this way,
No passion there.
and yes, and then it will be funny. And the third thing is write all the time. No
Mm.
ever finished. No joke is, even if you do a joke and everybody's laughing really hard, believe it or not, that joke can actually be better. There's no joke is ever finished. It can always be better. Keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, and keep perfecting. Do a joke 200 times before you move on to another joke, because you don't know, because that joke takes crafting. It takes
Mm-hmm.
a long time to perfect it. There might be something, because you got to do it where you're getting laughs, and then you got to do it where somehow it's not getting laughs this time. Then you have to figure out why it wasn't getting laughs here and why it was getting like. There's so much nuance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your facial expression, sitting down versus standing up,
Mm-hmm.
inflections in your voice. All of these things matter. So if you really want to do stand up and you really want to catch, but that's me. I take it seriously like that. Some
Mm-hmm.
people just want to, kill a bucket list thing and want to just make people laugh. If that's cool, do that too. But
Would,
the three things that
would
I
would you advise anyone to ever like take a class, like to be taught how to do all those things?
know, no.
Mm.
But David Arnold used to teach a class, right?
Mm-hmm.
David Arnold is one of the best at doing what I call professional comedy, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you want to know how comedy is supposed to be done in a sense of just technically sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just technically sound comedy. Um, David Arnold is the book.
Mm-hmm.
He's the book. He's so when he taught a comedy class, I would tell somebody to go take his comedy class
Mm-hmm.
because he's going to teach you exactly. If you take his class and then you're not good at comedy after taking his class, it's you.
It's you. It's not them. It's you. Yeah.
It's you. This is not a thing for you. There's people who's taking his class that have Netflix specials,
Mm.
Mm.
HBO specials. I think Ida Rodriguez, she did Tiffany Haddish's They Ready the first season,
Oh
and
yeah,
she just dropped her HBO
I
special.
saw that. Yeah.
She took David Arnold's comedy class.
So
Someone also says, Shah, someone also made a comment. Tracy Marble, Anthea says Tracy Marble Moore has a great class.
Mm-hmm.
Um, while I'm here, let me just tell you some other comments. Don Reed says Ryan is one of the funniest dudes ever. And then
Oh,
someone else wrote back and says yes. And then we have a comment that Anthea said she opened up for comedians at Caroline's in the Boston Comedy Club in the 90s under Bob Subner. He said,
wow.
let me tell you, the comedians helped me with stage presence today, timing, improv, etc. Much respect.
you gotta watch it. You gotta watch comedy, man. It's no people who don't. I always look at comics. They're like, yeah, I want to be a comedian. I'm like, are you going to comedy shows? They're like, no. Like, you don't really love this.
Right. They just think they're funny. They think what
You
they told one joke in the office, and they're like, "I probably should try stand up." So
know how many jokes I know that's not mine? Like
yeah.
1,000. That whenever somebody shows up, I go there hoping they do the joke, just hoping that I get to see something so well crafted. And being that I know how to do it, you get even more of an appreciation whenever you see a joke that you know is hard to pull off and they pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I always compare comedy to magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Dave Chappelle. The reason comedians love him so much is because, like, let's say any joke is like, pick a card, any card. I figured out this is your card. Then you
Mm-hmm.
got a little bit higher level of pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Then you got a higher level of cutting a woman in half, sawing a woman in half, put it back together. Dave Chappelle makes the Statue of Liberty disappear.
Yeah.
He
Absolutely.
whole like when we watch some of the stuff that he does, we're like, how in the world did he even get to this point, even
Absolutely.
this premise, and then make these people laugh
Absolutely.
at this? It's like,
And it's so funny you said it because I literally was laughing at the joke he was making about Michael Jackson. I was like, how do you get to the point where you turn that into something funny? I
yeah,
literally was just watching a special last night and
yeah,
saying that.
it's insane. It's
Yeah.
so for me, that's where you know those are the guys that I'm always like in awe of
Yeah.
versus the guys who do it physically. But the guys who do it physically, I know there's people who are in awe of that because if
Yeah.
that's love, watching Jim Carrey do physical comedy was like mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Ace Ventura was hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Watching The Mask, Liar Liar, just how physical he would be. And
Yeah.
Arnaz J would make me laugh. Um, Sebastian Maniscalco currently is one of the best physical comedians. You know, I have an appreciation for it, but not the same appreciation I have for what Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Patrice O'Neal, and guys like that did.
Oh, Patrice. Let me ask about the fact that I know we talked about social media and the impact it has, but I also know that you went through your account and scrubbed a lot of your content. And because you felt like a lot of it was being just given away. But there often, I was just on this agent call last night, and somebody was like, you should post all your stuff on social media. So do you, because I mean, I'm assuming because you feel like you're at the level you are, you should not be doing it. But if you're starting out, do you feel like that's a great way
Post
to at least get yourself out there?
post everything.
Okay.
If you're starting out, post everything. You should not be keeping anything in the can.
Mm,
If you're just starting out, you need to put out everything.
mm,
Everything needs to go out. Everything must go. It's a fire sale. It's a going out of business sale. Everything must go. If you're what are you holding on to?
yeah.
The thing is, this is what people got to realize too, especially when you're a creative, right? This thing that you're holding on to that is the greatest thing that you can think of right now
Mm-hmm.
is only the greatest thing that you can think of right now. The sooner you put that out, the sooner you'll be better than that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. As opposed to holding on to it because people like somebody gonna steal my stuff. Well,
Yeah.
by the time you put it out, somebody would already thought of it. Not about stealing it. They would already thought of it. They'd have been gone.
It's
That's
best
the
to be
thing.
first. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's be first than to be the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the way I done it for a long time with my content. That's how I grew my content. When anything would happen in the media, just in society or sports, like I would make content of it first thing in the morning. People come up, they already know what has happened in the news, what the biggest news story is, because I got the video out at 10 a.m. Eastern. You know what I mean?
And so that was the thing in terms of your posting. And I was looking at stuff. I always say that your IG is like the blueprint and bio of your life. And I saw how you were posting that are so insightful. I mean, people often think that comedians don't have brains because they think that they're just a jester of life, as opposed to you like really making it like thought provoking. Is that part of where you want to also be able to kind of let people, when you are telling your jokes, be able to also think?
Yes. I always want people to think whenever I'm doing my material. But I also post stuff on social media because now I've grown this platform to be so big. I can get a better idea of how people react to certain words, certain sentences, certain ideas. So a lot of times I'll throw something out there just to see how the public at large, responds to it, because they may be thinking that they're responding to this thing, but I might be setting this up for something that I'm doing on stage. I just need
Yeah.
this information
Mm-hmm.
to see if it would make most people turn away or would most people agree with it. So it's because in stand up you're always trying to connect with the audience,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to connect with the audience if I don't know what they feel and think about things in general.
Mm-hmm.
So social media is a good way to gauge that, especially if you have a large following. So nah, man, it's I feel like you should always use every tool you can to get to understand the audience.
So I know that we are now in a different climate of being able to say things that we differently than we was at any point. We can say whatever we wanted. And it's kind of to the point where it's almost like comedians have to censor themselves. Especially, I guess, is if you can be a role comic and probably say whatever you want somewhat to some degree, as we've all seen the backlash that Dave Chappelle has gotten. Do you go into that now with that consideration, especially when you get to a level where you're now on television and brands are now starting to get behind you? Does that matter to you now that now you have to censor yourself to some degree?
No, I feel like it's my job to be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the way that I attack something. If something is taboo, I want to do the joke in such a way that the person who's supposed to get offended by it laughs.
Mm.
So that's the goal. It's not people get offended or someone to get offended by that. Then my goal is that I'm never like, well, I'm gonna stay away from that because people get offended by it. I go, all right, so how do I craft this in such a way that the person who's supposed to get offended laughs at it? Because
Yeah.
I'm still going to do the thing that I want to do. I'm still going to make the joke that I want to make. Because a lot of my jokes now are based in me basically sharing my perspective about society, relationships, just different things, you know what I mean, in general. And a lot of things that I say on stage is things that I feel like should be said or needs to be said or people need to hear. And because I can't be afraid to say what I feel like people need to hear because I'm afraid of what losing money or losing a platform or
Yeah.
yeah, like it to me, what they say you lose from not being yourself isn't big enough for me to stop being myself.
That's so true. So, I mean, I guess through all the extent of your success and being able to really get into this and be successful, was there someone that kind of took you under your wing once you really decided, I'm going to really commit myself to doing this? Did somebody help mentor you at all?
D.S. Sanders, Sean Jones, Ty Griffin, those guys in North Carolina who, whenever I got to watch them be professionals, I didn't really allow anybody to take me under their wing because I'm so stubborn in that way
I was
of,
going to say, when's your birthday? Hold on, because
I'm an Aquarius.
oh yeah, my brother. That's my brother. Yes.
Stubborn in that way where I'm like, I gotta do it myself. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it my. So I rather, I rather learn through analyzing and watching than
Yeah.
ask questions sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever analyzing, I figure it out on my own 3 weeks later when they could have just told me. And I'm like, so
Gonna
I
take the hardest way around.
sometimes I'll take the hardest, longest way to get there. And so some people I ask, yeah, I'll tell you, don't be prideful in that way and get the information that you need to get. Uh,
Yeah.
but for me, there's something about getting it for yourself that makes it stick for me.
Yeah, yeah, it's true because it's like you really work to get the information, and like you said,
Yeah.
you retain it more as opposed to someone telling. It's like they become the Charlie Brown teacher if they're telling you, as opposed to you like, "Let me read and absorb this into my brain myself." So I
So
get that.
as don't do this on stage,
Yeah.
right? You retain, don't do this on stage.
Mm-hmm.
But if I never ask them what not to do on stage and I end up doing those things and learning not to do that on stage, not only do I know not to do that on stage, but now I know why you don't do that on.
Why? Yes, there's equalizer to that. Yeah, well, that's a good point because oftentimes people will tell you something based on their experience that from their own personal experience, and if you
Yeah,
haven't had it, it's almost like someone telling you don't touch the stove. You're like, it's not really gonna make my hand burn, right? Really? So you still want to do it. So you, in your
yeah.
own way, you feel like I still want to, do it my way and find out on my own if I'm gonna burn my hand. So I get that. I get that.
And I feel like it's different whenever, a comic with burns on his hands is like, don't touch the stove. And the person's like, okay, I won't touch the stove. And then they can turn to me and go, don't touch the stove. And I do like this. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
there's a different bond when you see the person with burns on their hands.
Right, right, right.
The person you're just going, no, no, no. Don't
Yeah,
always wanted them to see me as a peer to know that I did all the struggling that they did too.
that's great. Well, I know that often, especially coming into being a comedian, often people want to have the next goal of being on television. When was it that your experience of being on stage and then becoming someone who's not on Curb Enthusiasm and Insecure? How did it happen for you? Did agents come? Did you just go out for auditions?
I wanted I didn't think I wanted to act.
Hmm.
I'll be honest. I wanted to be my goal has always been to be the best stand-up comedian ever. That's always going to be my goal. I care about stand-up way more than everything else. Um, they were like, my agents was like, did you ever want to get into acting or whatever? I was like, I'm not an actor. I can't act. I haven't been taking acting classes or whatever. They're like, we got to audition for Curb Your Enthusiasm. They're like, it's no script, so it's not, you know what I mean, acting. You just got to be you, be funny in the moment. I was like, okay, this is the closest to acting that, someone with my experience should be doing. So I was like, I'm up for it. And I went and did the audition, and I was making everybody in the room laugh, and I was having fun. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to act.
But how do you get to that point? So are they giving you scenarios that you're able to play off of? Because improv is a whole nother skill in itself.
Yes. So the scenario, they came in, they told me I was going to have to cry on command or something like that, right? And when I got there, that was nothing what they had told me it was. And then they were like, oh no, you're an ambulance driver. You just turned on your lights just so you could get through traffic so you can get to Starbucks faster. And Larry David saw you do it, and now you're in front of him in line, and he's mad. Go.
Wow. Did you have a singing part? Did you have a singing partner, or was it just you just monologuing the whole time?
Oh no, they brought a partner in. They were like, this person is going to play Larry.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. But did you train for that? Like, was that just, again, something that was always in you to have the ability to just flow off the cuff and be able to be funny?
Nah, I think once I get comfortable around people, I do understand that I am funny. Whenever it's time to. You know what I mean? I kind of know how to turn it on. And in that scenario, I knew, all right, Ryan, this is time to turn it on. They're looking for you to be funny, so be funny in this space.
So, but I mean, when I say train, because improv and sketch is different because there's that yes and element into them.
When you see somebody do improv at a very high level, you go like, I'm funny and I can do improv, but I don't think of myself as a high level improv person. But some people will disagree because there's this show called Cancel Court on YouTube right now. That's 100% improv, and people are like, "Oh, this is Ryan's element." So it just depends. I think I'm just a really good arguer. Like, if you're in a position to argue, then in improv, I'm gonna kill it.
Yes.
And that's what in Curb Your Enthusiasm, the audition was an argument. So I kill it. And then this is how funny it was. I left that audition and I called my manager, and he was like, how'd it go? I was like, I've never auditioned for anything. I don't know anything. I'm going to just tell you, I think I'm going to get the part, man.
Wow.
I was like, I don't know why. I just have this feeling I'm going to get it. So I left. I went back to North Carolina, was eating with my children, and I got a call, and he was like, you got it. And I remember to get on Insecure, I got an audition. I was sitting in the rain at the Redskins stadium. I'm a big 49ers fan. We were playing the Redskins.
DC.
Yeah, I'm in DC right now. We're doing DC.
Oh, are you? Oh, okay, I'm from DC, so that's why I was like, oh,
okay. Look, I got to think about people being like, that's politically incorrect.
I know.
Redskins when I was at the game, okay? They're the Washington football team now. I'm just telling the story.
Right. It's historical. It's like being able to say the N-word because it's historical.
This is what it's called. So they were like, Insecure wants you to audition for a role tomorrow. And that's how auditions come in, by the way. It's never you get this crazy amount of time to prepare. And that's why y'all don't see me in as much stuff, because I turn down stuff all the time. The what is it? True Story, a True Crime.
The one that Kevin Hart was in?
Kevin Hart was in. I auditioned for that. and they were like, I need you to remember a page of dialogue, or you know what I mean, today. I'm like, I'm not an actor. I'm not an actor.
Wait a minute. You telling me you was like not even gonna attempt? You like, no, I'm good.
Yo, I'm not an actor. I'm not. I gotta find somebody to run lines with. Then I gotta remember, and in order for me to remember the lines, I gotta remember all my lines and all your lines, so I know when to say my line. So I gotta remember everybody's lines. Like when they talked about the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, they said the first season you can see Will mouthing the words.
Yes, of everybody.
I'm bad like that. I'm not. So I got to remember the whole script just to know my lines. And I'm
Yes.
telling you, it's like, nah, I don't want
But
to.
no, but nobody's pressuring you to say, okay, well, there's acting classes that help you with memorization. They don't say that because they want you in these roles.
I be on tour, so I want to. Like I don't want to do 5 shows over a weekend and then come home and do an acting class. They're like, remember this dialogue or whatever. Then you come in and practice or whatever, and then fly back out and have to do 5 shows. I like the rest too. I like me time too. Like,
Got it.
so I like to tour and then stop, and then because when I did Curb and Insecure, I stopped touring for a whole year. I was like, we're going to try to do this acting thing. So I'll do that, but I don't think I can nail certain things. I auditioned for King Richard. Knew go get that. Knew I wasn't getting it.
Like,
I
let's just go with it.
came to do the audition, and I could hear the guy auditioning for the role, the same role, go in before me. He was phenomenal. He was.
So that's because of you. That's why we ended up with Will. Not saying he didn't do a good job, but they was like, we can go for the better actor than the person who looked like him.
Man, it was. Look, I saw a dude. Like I didn't. It wasn't for King Richard. It was for one of the guys who was messing with.
Okay.
All the time, yeah.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, I was auditioning for one of the thuggy guys, one of the gangsters.
That was like 2 lines. I just saw this movie.
Yeah. So
2 lines.
but it's multiple stuff, but stuff gets cut out. You know what I mean?
Got it. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Be a more definitely more into it than that. Because I've asked people about the scenes I remember. They were like, nah, that wasn't in the movie. I'm like, oh, I got cut. I probably would have made it in the movie then. But I listened to that guy's audition before me. And in this audition, we had to convey fear. I don't know how to act scared. I haven't been scared of anything in Lord knows how long. Like, I haven't been scared since, like, the mother of my children was pregnant with our first child. That's the last time I was scared. That was 7 years ago. I can't channel that. I don't know how to channel.
You haven't got to method acting yet.
Yeah. No. I was like, keep me, and I went right to my agents and was like, keep me in comedy. What are you doing?
What are you doing to me?
But it was in that moment I realized that I want to be a stand-up comic. And yeah, acting is something I want to do. But there are people who have dedicated their lives to be good actors.
Yeah.
And if I want to act, I got to respect the craft enough to do what it is that I love and come in and really compete against them and beat them out for these roles. And then that was a really humbling experience. And I'm glad that dude whooped me like that in that audition because it made me realize that nothing is going to be given to me, no matter how popular I am or whatever, that there's a certain amount of work that needs to be done. And, and then I took that with me whenever they brought me back for Insecure. I just wanted to do a really good job.
And you do, and you bring that to the role and that element to it for sure. So when you think about your overall career and where you are now, what goals do you have for yourself? I know you're touring, but what do you ultimately want to do with yourself once you make your plan in life?
I want 2 classic stand-up specials, and I mean classic. I mean, whenever I'm gone, I want people to be like, no, you need to watch this. This the same way people treated Eddie Murphy specials.
Yeah.
They've treated Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, the way they've treated Richard Pryor's special. Like Richard Pryor's been gone. Netflix, every streaming service will still bring on his stuff. I
Yeah.
want that. I want that type of legacy and stand up. I want two of them like that. I don't want one. I need at least two that's going to stand the test of time like that. I want a TV show that I wrote, maybe even produce and star in, that lasts several seasons and leaves an imprint on the time it was around. Not, it doesn't have to be Martin or the Cosby Show type imprint, because those are not
Yeah.
unreal. But maybe an imprint like the Wayans brothers,
Yeah.
yeah, to where people, like everybody of a certain time, remembers that and was enjoying it at the time. Something of that, a movie of note, a
Mm.
movie that crosses the 100 million threshold for real. Maybe one that I write and act in, or maybe one that I star in. It ain't enough for me to just be in it. I have to be an integral part of what it is. So, and after all of that, I want my Mark Twain prize. I want to be able to
Yes.
teach for my contribution to the comedy game. So those are my goals. I want to do very well in multiple facets of comedy and have overall my ability to do comedy and my ability to make people laugh, to kind of make the Hall of Fame of writers of comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way you're going, it is going to happen because it's very few people who could have been doing it in a short period of time. Because short, because you got people out
Yeah.
there been doing it 20 years and still trying, and have made such success for themselves. So I can only imagine, so much more great things are going to come from you. And that I know that, especially with the writing aspect of it, that can happen. I know probably ideas of things are probably being centered around you in itself, especially when you're a Southern boy bringing comedy to us. People love that. So, but if you wanted to give someone advice thinking about taking a dive into this profession, what advice would you give them on starting and how to really, really make it happen for themselves? What would you tell them?
You get out what you put in.
Mm.
There in there's a lot of things that you do in this life that does isn't always true. This is the thing where that is definitely true.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the gym every day, you'll be super fit. If you go every once in a while, you'll get every once in a while results. Comedy is the exact same way.
Mm-hmm.
You go to this every day, you go about it and do it right every day. You try to get better at it and do it the best you can every day. You will be one of the top comedians in the world. You treat it like it's a hobby, you will be your comedy will come off like a hobbyist. There's nothing you can. It doesn't matter how much natural talent you have, whether you have more or less than the next person. The people who work the hardest move the highest up the chain. They all
Yeah.
tell you, oh no, it's about relationships and stuff like that. No, relationships can only get you through certain doors.
Mm-hmm.
When it's time to show and prove, the people with the talent, the people with the work ethic, are always going to be to the top.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's so true. And it's just like, they say about success, preparation beats opportunity. Like you have to be preparing to get to that point of success. So that is so true. And it's so funny when I was just watching King Richard the other day and I was talking about how dedicated the father who played also played the father of Venus Serena, how dedicated he was and how he didn't let up and how much that matters in terms of when you look at your life. If you think to yourself, why haven't I accomplished these? Why haven't these things done to happen for myself? You got to have an introspect. Like, well, what haven't I done yet, though? what am I not
That's
doing yet?
a sobering thing whenever I had to do that.
Yeah.
Whenever I was looking at things like, why aren't certain things happening for me?
Mm.
And then you have to ask yourself, well, are you trying your best?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is no, There you go. You have
Yeah.
other and really, and I mean, so I was like, when I told people that I grew 1 million followers in a year, people were like, man, that's crazy. All you did was just post videos. No, me.
Somebody calling you. They're like, it's time to go to the
I
club.
can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I've got to wait till my sound comes back on.
Whenever somebody calls you, it pauses it. Can you hear now?
That must happen with iPhones. I wonder. I wonder if he
I
has an
can't hear
iPhone.
anything.
And that's it. Go out and come back again.
No, I can't hear you guys. It
Look,
appears that you can hear me.
right. Hang up and then come back. Look, do you have his messaging? It always happens, whatever. But we were closing. It's so funny. It always happens at the end of the show, which is great because we were about to wrap up anyway. So if he does come back in, can you hear us now? No. So crazy.
Go out and come back.
Try one more time. But if not, in the meantime, we have enjoyed having Ryan on, giving so many jewels and sharing his
Yes.
journey with us. I know, I can tell you right now, in 8 year time that he reached the success that he has, right now, I can only imagine what's going to happen for him in the next 2 years. So, comedy is not for the fleeting heart. Like, I've done it, been on the stage, and it's definitely one of those things where for him, you could tell he always knew that this was something that was inside of him, but it wasn't until he was like, all right, let me get out what I've been feeling. Because a lot of times people don't realize comedians who are deal with a lot of emotions. Are you back? You hear us?
I am, but I can
Okay,
hear.
good. I'm going to start rattling on.
I was actually going to tell you. I said this time I didn't cry during this episode, but I did
Well,
laugh.
If Brian is making you cry, then we will have to have another conversation.
Brian, I cry all the time. I'm a crybaby.
I stayed away from the tear jerky stuff, man.
I'm glad. For moments of this, we try to keep it lighthearted. I mean, I feel like we can talk forever, but I was just going to ask in terms of like what you mentioned Dave Chappelle, and so what I would say, what has been an inspirational moment? It doesn't have to be comedic related. What has been an inspirational moment in your life that you can remember that really kind of set the tone for who you are today?
The initial Kevin Hart thing that made me want to do comedy or made me really go. Kevin Hart inspires me more than most comedians. Like, even though my style is nothing like his, even though like there's really no influence as far as comedically from Kevin Hart to me, as a man and as a dreamer, as a person who wanted to be successful in this, and somebody who is open about everything that he did. Kevin Hart is so open about his journey that I learned so much just from listening to his interviews, right? He's inspired me more than any other comedian, and it's not even close. Even the ones I love the most, who my style is more, it seems like more replicated of. Kevin Hart is the biggest influence to me in comedy. Like you just really see a guy really make it happen out of nothing. He wasn't given anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And on his way to try to be a billionaire, that ain't nothing to
Yeah.
or not be inspired by for sure.
He's already got over hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's still getting up at 4 a.m. like he's poor, and he's got to get to like.
But that's the mentality, though. That's the mentality of always when you get in that mind state and you don't break free of that. That's the thing that keeps you going. It drives you. It's something that you don't. It doesn't leave you just because you reach this certain level of your success, because you're still trying to reach goals. And people think because you reach here, there are more goals to achieve. And for him, he's probably like, I have more goals to achieve, so I gotta still do it. So
keeps making more goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's inspiring to watch, man. To watch the guy who's the biggest in the game work like he's a nobody it's crazy.
Well, and you were inspiring to watch, and your journey has been in the time that you've shared with us today. But I wanted to leave with just asking, what is some of a mantra or of an inspiration of things that you tell yourself? Like some people stand in the mirror and give affirmations. Has it been anything that you've heard or have been told to yourself, or do you say to yourself that it's kind of like a mantra you tell yourself?
I'll say this: one of my favorite rappers, and I consider him to be a great friend. His name is Fonte. He's a rapper from the group Lil Brother. He had a quote in a song that's almost like my mantra. He said, "Every day I wake up and say without shame, today I am a man. Tomorrow I'll be the same. I'll be a bonfire when others are just a flame. Be a memory when others are just a name."
Mm,
And that's always stuck with me.
mm,
It's real words from a true heart. You can take it as an old ending or a new start.
I
And
love
yeah, that doesn't even sound like rap, but it
no.
is. Yeah, but
I know someone posted the other day a video of someone doing a sketch of a white family quoting lyrics from Wu-Tang Clan, and it looked like something out of Shakespeare. And I said, this is why people don't understand how rap music is the true poetry. It's the truest
yeah,
art form. It's the modern day version of poetry. Like people don't understand that, and they want to censor this and don't want to talk about it and say certain lyrics should be exposed or spoken about, but that's the reason why it should be, because it becomes the art that needs to be expressed. So I love that, and I love the fact that you can draw that out of a song that people often say that we should be still listening to.
yeah, yeah. See, rap gets a terrible name, but that bit of motivation, that mantra is that's man. If you can if you can get up every day and tell yourself to be better than you were the day before, and if you can live by that, you'll be just fine. You'll be
Well,
just fine.
we thank you so much for coming on here and share your journey. I know that you're on tour. Tell everyone. I know, but I think Kiana had at the bottom where they can find you so they can come out and see you. I know you're in DC now. Where are you leaving from after? They can probably go online right here at your website to be able to
Um,
get tickets.
uh, um, I ain't gonna lie, completely unprepared, and completely not updated on none of my stuff. So
You like, I just show up. That's how look. That's you like. That's where I am. My status right now. I just
yeah,
show up.
but you can follow me on YouTube at with all due offense. You can follow me on Instagram at Ryan Davis Comedy, Facebook, as Ryan Davis. And I do keep people updated all the time. I always update. Every time I add a date, I make a new flyer. Every time a date is over, I make a new flyer. Right now, we're in DC. Three shows sold out of the five. The
Where are you
other two,
playing at? Where you
uh,
playing at in
I'm,
DC?
I'm at the DC Improv.
Okay, okay. Things about to
Only
open here. That's good.
on the Friday early show, and I only have 20 tickets left on the Sunday show. So out of the 1,500 tickets we put on sale for my weekend, we got 40 tickets left. So
That's amazing. That is
that is
really good.
a great weekend. I cannot lie. I love DC. It is my favorite city.
Yeah, DC literally, I will say, for those who travel, like go on the road, people have always said they love playing in DC because it's definitely the crowd, the audience.
I
Yeah.
would say as a black man who grew up in the South and around diversity and who considers themselves to be an intellectual, DC has the perfect combination
Hmm.
of intellectuals and ratchets all in.
That is so true.
Yeah,
So true. It is
place.
so true. Where you realize you can tell a joke that's not gonna go over their head because they watch the news, but they also listen to trap music or be on the
Yes,
shade room and all that stuff.
dude. There's nothing you can say that's too intellectual, and there's
Yeah,
nothing you can say that's too hood. DC, they got that is the. I'm telling you,
that is
DC.
so true. Those my people. I love it. That's true. We went to college, but we
Yeah,
sure know how to get zeal.
yeah. That's
I love that. But that is so great that you are there because that's my hometown. I don't know if you know Eddie Bryant. Hopefully you run into him there. He's going to be probably out there at the Improv this weekend for sure.
Okay.
So hopefully we catch you on a tour soon because I know you missed this area, but you're coming back towards New York, right?
To New York?
Yeah. Or you already been here?
I'm doing Caroline's in New York.
Okay.
January to the 23rd.
Okay, good. All right,
Yeah,
perfect.
we'll be there.
Yeah, we're gonna make that a date night for us, me and Key.
All right. You got to tell me what you think. Don't
Okay,
lie.
I will because I haven't seen you live. I've seen stuff online, but I haven't seen you live, so I'm going to be looking forward to that.
Yeah.
All right, well, we thank you so much for joining us this evening and sharing your journey with us. I know, you are here to make people laugh, and also think, like I said, you're insightful. Like I saw your post talking about, complimenting women nowadays has become a thing of the past, and I love the fact that you said that because I feel like although we do say that rap music is got this bad rap, but I feel like the introduction of certain rap songs made people feel like they supposed to talk bad about women now.
It's weird. I was hanging out with my 25-year-old brother yesterday, and I hear the influence that the rap is having on him. He would say certain things when in referencing women, and he didn't even realize that it was negative to say.
Yeah.
Because that's the way he's heard it said.
Yeah.
And it's accepted by the culture through music. So he just automatically, and I was just like, nah, you shouldn't refer to them.
That's not what you're supposed to call them. No, not that word.
Actually, don't even. They just, and there's no beat behind you whenever you say it. So
yeah, exactly. You get snuffed.
Oh yeah, no one's dancing when you say it. I need you to know that.
No one's dancing. Oh, I love it. But I can't wait to see you live. And we thank you for coming on. I know people have said, I know Kiva said, a bunch of people found out you were coming on the show. They was like, oh, he's coming. We can't wait to see. Because people don't often see the human behind off stage. They see the person who tells jokes, but they don't get to connect to the person who, could just be a person. Your father, that makes a difference for people too.
Everybody who told it was like, I know he's going to be hilarious. I'm not hilarious. Whatever. When I'm in my element, I'm not that guy. People be like, I want to hang out with you. I'm like, no, you don't. Not unless you like watching boring documentaries. I don't know why.
But that's what I always started the questioning about the misconception, because people think that you're supposed to always be on just because you're a comedian, that you're supposed to kind of like I said, be a jester, like you're supposed to make everyone laugh and you're gonna have a good time, but that's not always true. Like, when you're off stage, you just want to just have a good time like everybody else. And if you may say something's funny just because you saw something funny. So.
I am paid entertainment. I don't entertain people for free no more.
Right. You're like, that's not what I'm doing today. No.
Did I get booked? I don't remember being booked to do that.
Have you ever got someone that comes up to you and asks you to tell a joke?
It happened yesterday.
Really? Wow.
I've been recently getting into sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some shoes I was going to get. They were like, no, we don't have them at the store, but there's a store an hour and a half away that has it. I had a friend that lives in the city, so I had them go to pick up the shoes for me. The person was giving my friend a hard time, giving me a hard time, didn't really want to look for it. And then finally called the store that I bought them from, and they were like, no, that's comedian Ryan Davis. Like, you definitely give him his shoes, and you should probably apologize to them for giving him a hard time. And then he got on the phone and was like, oh, you're a famous comedian? Tell me a joke. I was like, dude, you're lucky that I'm not like just there punching you in your face. Give me my shoes.
But I always say I hate when people say that, because I'm like, don't nobody show up at your job and tell you that, can you show me how to make French fries? So why are you asking me to tell you?
Clock at that, off the clock? No,
what are we doing here, people?
Can you do that thing you get paid to do for absolutely no reason other than to entertain me?
Yeah.
No.
But that's the thing that you should be like, let's do it. So, but we
I
thank you so
keep a
much
couple
again.
bad jokes in the in the chamber just in case.
Yes, you
It,
right. Just in case it's
yeah,
that
just
one person.
feel like being nice. I might ask them why is 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. And that is that. But that is your joke right there. Take
So,
that with.
which makes me think about this question in terms of hecklers. How do you deal with them?
My favorite way to deal with them is to ignore them until they get to a point where the audience doesn't like them. You
Mm,
wait for the audience that they're getting on the audience's nerves, and then the audience won't care what you say to them.
okay. So you tell me you could keep the focus of telling your jokes, even if the person's like, "You're not funny, shut up." Like you could keep going even through all of that.
Yeah, I could do that through the first time they yell it because um, I'll say something like, "Hey, please don't make this show about you," and then I'll go about my set. And if they do it again, the crowd start going, "Oh, whatever, whatever." Then it's like, "All right, now they're giving me permission to say whatever I want to say to this person."
Mm,
You always want the audience to be on your side. You never want to come off as a bully. So
yeah.
whatever, you got to make sure that they are on your side. You make sure that it's all psychological. It's
Mm,
also, you want to make sure that the audience feels like you're the victim. Nobody gets mad at the victim for beating up the bully.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So you
So
got to get them on your
yeah,
side.
I wait long enough for them to identify me as the victim. And then as soon as I recognize that, all right, we're here, where they're like, "Oh, Ryan, that's messed up what they're doing to Ryan right now," and then I get,
And you have that face that everybody's like, "Oh."
yeah, poor Ryan is dealing with this. Yeah, poor
so,
Ryan.
so when you think about, so do you have you kept all of your books, your notebooks, and your journals that you've written down all your jokes on? Do you keep all of them?
I, I honestly, I didn't, and I might just write all my jokes down one day just to make people believe that I wrote all these jokes down in
So wait, you
notebooks.
didn't write them down. So prior the starting
I
out, you haven't written down.
I know I write. I do write. I don't want to say I don't write because that would be a lie. But I bullet point.
Mm,
Like you might see a joke book of mine, right? And it's a list of like 40 jokes, 2-word bullet points. Those 2 words might mean 4 minutes of material.
mm, okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
So how I write material is I have a general idea of what I want to talk about. So I'll write the subject that I want to talk about, and then the thing that's supposed to be funny about it.
Mm,
Right.
mm-hmm,
So I know this is what I'm talking about, and I know this is the overall point that I'm trying to get across.
mm-hmm.
That's fun. And then I let all the other words come to me because I want to be as natural as possible on stage. And if
Yeah.
you completely out, you have a there's a chance that it will be robotic.
Mm-hmm. And you're worrying about remembering what you wrote as opposed to living in a joke.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
love how you get that.
Well, if you check my bio, been and done it. But yeah, no, I completely get that. And it makes sense because it always makes me think about the fact that like that's how you are able to really relate and not be all like, well, what am I supposed to say next? Or and because a lot of times people think about having to tell jokes in segue. And I love that people don't realize it doesn't have to be that way. You could just flow and go from this to that to that. Like, like Dave Chappelle does this in most of his times. Like there isn't like a going from here to here, here, here. But people who tell
Yeah,
stories feel like they have to connect it and go from
yeah.
there to there to there.
I like to segue um, just because that's just me. I
Mm-hmm.
like my set to look like one continuous thought.
Mm-hmm.
But shout out to my mentor, D.S. Sanders, taught me this years ago. He said, even if you have to tell your jokes out of order, and I'll do this every once in a while, I'll tell my jokes completely out of order because it forces you to be in the moment. Now I don't have none of my planned segues, but I like to segue. So I don't have any of my planned segues, and I still have to make this set make sense in my mind. So that also helps you whenever you deal with hecklers. So somebody tries to throw you off your set, you don't even care. You don't have to do
Right.
the whole "where was I?" I have to get back to this script. Where was I in the script? You can literally go, well, I can jump in anywhere because I can make this make sense no matter what. And it makes you like being comfortable on stage is your biggest asset.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. And do you feel like, most comedians, when they get to a certain level, not all, use writers. Do you feel like that takes away the validity of a comedian, or you feel like once you get to that level, it's okay to be able to have a think tank?
Depends on how much they're writing.
Mm-hmm.
If they're handing you jokes, then I don't necessarily respect that. But I do I do believe in having friends around who help you put punch up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do believe that um, because I'm gonna be honest, whether a comedian wants to admit it or not, if you have friends who are comedians, they want to help you. That's
Yeah.
just what it is. They'll watch your set and you'll do a joke and they'll come up and go, "What do you think about if you went this way with it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
it's a better idea than what I'm doing? Am I
Yeah.
not to take that advice?"
Right. You're
No,
still
I
the
want
author of the joke. Yeah. You're still the author of the joke.
still
Yeah.
that person would have never even thought of that had they not been watching me do it.
Yeah.
So it's not like they wrote it at their home and then they brought it to me. They saw something from me that sparked something inside of them that made
Mm-hmm.
them want to give it to me. So that's not them writing for me. The only reason they even had this thought was from watching me.
Yeah. Yeah. And
You
that's
know,
true. And that's true to, like you said, to be able to take it to somewhere else to where you're gonna maybe make the audience kind of go a little longer into it before you hit them with the punchline. So I can that definitely can help where you have that, especially when you're finding yourself on stage. You're not
yes.
able to see yourself unless you're like recording yourself. And in that moment, someone's able to capture something that you're not able to see.
So um, next year I'll be getting ready to film my special, right?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Um, and I've called a friend of mine. His name is Nate Jackson. Nate has not got back to me. Nate is on the show Young Rock. If you ever watch the show Young Rock,
Oh yeah.
plays the junkyard dog. He's actually a great stand-up comedian. He plays the comedians are doing a great job acting nowadays. He's playing a big old wrestler, junkyard dog from back in the WWF days. But he's a really good comic. And I'll probably before I shoot my special, the last month or two before my special, I'll probably see if he'll go out on the road with me and watch my set and punch
Mm,
up my my performance
mm.
because that's what he does far better than almost anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's comedy right now. You know what I mean? You want your friends with these strengths to take what you're doing to a higher level. He wouldn't be writing for me, but he would be, helping me make my set the best it possibly can be. And I feel like your fans should appreciate that, not count it against you.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised as an Aquarius that you would take that information in because normally it's like, well, I can figure that on my own. Well, I can do that on my own.
I got tired of doing it. I've been doing that too long. This is the time because this is like, all right, this is your dream, right? So if your dream is to have one of the best specials ever, and you know that by having this person come in and help you, it can be the best special ever. Do you really want to not achieve a goal because you want to be stubborn? Like at the end of the day, you get legacy is a thing. You only get one shot at legacy.
Yeah.
your legacy. You know what I mean? When your story's over, your story's over. What's
Hmm.
left here to remember you by is what's left here to remember you by. So that's what I'm in it for. And I refuse. Like a lot of people, I go around my opening act, and one of my the people I write scripts with is my guy Austin Hall, right?
Hmm.
Austin Hall's my goal is to be the greatest comedian of all time. Austin Hall's goal is to be the greatest comedian of all time. So it benefits me to have this dude around me.
Yeah, that's
He
true.
wants me to be the best I possibly can, just so whenever he surpasses me, he can say, I beat him at his best.
Be the best, be the
You
best.
see what I'm saying? So I have
Yeah.
somebody who actually pushes me, not because he pushing me to be the best. He wants me to be the best I can be, just so I have no excuses whenever he beats me. that is, and
Well, you know,
that's
it's like sports, though. It's like when you're a
yeah,
fighter, you want to fight the greatest fighter. You don't want to fight the
yeah.
lackluster just to make yourself look better. You want to go toe to toe with the greatest. So it's
I
the same thing.
go with the best of them. So
Yeah.
that's why. Yeah, that's why I bring those people around. I'll go, the guys who I think are the best doing it, I always go watch them. And I'll be honest with you, man. People can feel however they want to feel about what I'm just saying, what I'm about to say. I recently went and seen Dave Chappelle, you know what I mean, live. I remember seeing his current special. I went and saw Chris Rock live. I've seen Kevin Hart live. I've seen everybody live. I'm liking my chances of being the guy very soon.
I know it. But that's what you're supposed to think of yourself.
That's how I'm supposed to feel.
That's what you're supposed to think of yourself. But what do you think? Because I know I've had, friends who are actually do stand up often tell me they don't like watching other comedians because I don't know if it's so much they get in their own head or if they go there. Like, what are your thoughts? I know you could take school and watch them to learn, but what are your thoughts in terms of actually watching other comedians at your level? Does that intimidate you? Or does that get in your head?
Oh, no, no. Oh, I get excited when I see
Mm-hmm.
other comedians kill and do everything. I be rooting for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Breaks my heart to watch comedians bomb. I want to see everybody do well. Cause there's things everybody is doing. Cause I'm gonna do my thing. I'm not
Yeah.
inspired by nobody. I don't do. You know what I mean? I'm not, like I said, I'm inspired by Kevin Hart's interviews. I don't watch his comedy and go, oh, I need to be like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't cross. Nah, I got into this to be me. I'm going to be me all the way to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I attack it. So I don't have this thing where I don't have any fear of being inspired by something or possibly, taking somebody, because some comedians think they're going to remember something somebody else said and accidentally do somebody else's joke, which is
Yeah.
possible because I've done that before in my younger days. I did a joke and I didn't take the joke. Like the joke literally lined up. I was talking about something and the joke literally lined up and I said a joke and it was really funny. And then I was literally talking about what I was looking at. And then I went back and watched the comedy special that I had watched long even before I was doing comedy. And then I saw it coming.
Mm.
It said something and I was like, oh my God,
That's where it came from.
this is where it came from. It didn't come from in me. It was in my brain from seeing it, but it wasn't mine.
Mm.
It was heartbreaking, but now I'm at a point now where I think that was only possible because I was talking about something, and the something wasn't in my comedy. I only talk about my perspective and my life and my
Mhm.
experiences now. Back, this was a social media video where I was just talking about like something that happened that was popular or whatever, and there was no real um, attachment to me. You
Yeah.
know, and then that's where I feel like those can happen. But in comedy, if you're really talking about, that's why I said it's be yourself on stage. If you be yourself,
Mhm.
you won't have to worry about running into somebody else's stuff. You know.
So you said you're filming your special next year. Can we get an exclusive on a name?
I don't have the name.
You don't have a name yet?
Flirting with names. I've been flirting with names for 5 years.
Okay. Okay.
It changes all the time. Trust me.
Really?
It's going to change all the way up to the end to where I feel like.
Well, good. So since you think it's going to change, give us like a couple flirts that you're doing.
Nah, I'm telling you, I don't even know because right now I'm like whatever it is that I'm thinking is not it. Uh,
Mm,
Whatever it is, right? It's going to have to embody what I'm talking about. And
okay.
you know what I mean? I like to umbrella things. I like to take everything and then have this umbrella cover it all. And
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be catchy. I want whenever you see the name of it to go, like if it's on Netflix, you see the name of it, you go, oh, I gotta watch this. I want it to serve its purpose of embodying everything that I'm talking about. I want it to have some clickbait value.
Mm,
You know what I mean? So I got to really sit with it. I got to really
okay.
sit. A
We
lot
get it. You
of
don't want to
people,
tell us. It's fine.
you can tell a lot of thought into all this stuff. So it's very important to me. All this stuff is important to me.
Okay, we'll take it. And guess what? No matter what, we'll be friends. And hopefully, it's a live. Well, no, you'll do some kind of live TV, but we can find some way to be there. 'Cause are you based in LA now?
Yeah, I've been in LA for 4 years.
Okay, okay. So we're assuming that it probably would be the inner. Are you going to make that decision to do it there, or are you going to go back home?
Houston.
Okay, Houston. Okay, okay, okay,
I haven't done Houston in 3 or 4 years.
okay. Well, that's going to be exciting.
Houston is the first city I ever sold tickets into.
Really.
When everything took off of social media, I found out that I could sell tickets. My very first show was in Houston.
So you're like, let's take it back to the roots.
Let's take it back to the roots.
I love that. I love that. And if your children had to say what kind of dad you are, what would they? What kind of dad would they say you are?
Boring. My kids have no idea that I'm funny. They do, they do, but it's like my the way I'm funny with them and the way I'm funny with everybody else is so different. But they don't think I'm funny. They don't like if you tell my daughter that, oh my God, thousands of people came out to see your dad be funny, she'll be like, they don't know him then. There's no way
They're talking about my dad.
they can't be talking about my dad.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, but nah, they don't, man. My daughter, but my kids, man, they it's interesting because they love me for completely different reasons. So the love that I get on the road versus the love I get when I come home is two different things. My son looks at me like I'm Superman. Like when I through the door, it's just like, oh, it's him. It's like the guy, and it's not because I'm funny. It's not because if anything in particular I do for him. It's just like he just loves me unconditionally. My kids they just love me for
Well,
me.
that's awesome though to have that, to be able to walk into that, because as we know, this industry can have its ups and downs. And so there's always that to
It's
be to know
the
that you can give
thing.
him a piece of bubble gum and he's like, so, so that's great. So when I think about that, and especially being a parent and having to go into the business, this had to be a lot of sacrifices that you had to have made
Oh,
in order to get to this point. Like,
listen, I had a good father.
mhm.
I had a really good father, a really active father. So oftentimes I feel like I'm failing when I'm not as active as he is
Mm,
because as he was because I'm chasing my dream or
mhm.
doing certain things or seeing my kids so much through FaceTime versus in person,
Yeah.
you know, being able to do these things or make these memories, not make the same memories I had with my dad. You know what I mean? Not being there for first steps sometimes, not being there for first words sometimes, stuff like that really, I don't, and I appreciate moments. You know what I mean? And to not be there for these moments, it's really tough. So I would say that to people who do, because people don't think about that when they are pursuing a dream. It's
Yeah.
not your children's dream. It's your dream.
Mm-hmm.
They if they don't support it, good. They're not. They would be wanting support from the kids. Kids shouldn't support it. They want you.
Yeah.
They the world wants you, and they want you, and you got to make sure you don't ever make them feel like you're choosing the world over them.
Mm-hmm. And even if they feel that way, you'll be in a position later to pay for their therapy. So
Yeah. Everybody always says they'll understand when they get older. Yeah. All right.
like I'm not or not. If not, again, there's always therapy. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. But the most important part is that you are present in it, like even as if it's not physical. I mean, we have
I'm
technology now to allow people to be connected to people that are not right there beside them. So, I live in a whole different state than my family. Like I said, I'm from DC originally. And my kids know my parents because they can FaceTime them and they know their voices and their faces. So that makes a difference. But outside of that, you have done so much, and I know you are going to do everything you have set your mind to. And I know you're going to come back and eventually tell us when there's special launch, so we can say we exclusively.
I promise.
Okay, all right now. We got it on recording.
I got it on tape.
That's all we need. That's all we need. But we appreciate you so much, and I can't wait to see you in January. And I promise that I'm going to be there because anytime I can get away from my 5 and 3-year-old, I'm scheduling this now. Can we buy tickets now?
Yeah, they're available now. Go to
Good.
website. Make sure y'all pick those up. You will. I'm telling you, I love New York. New York is one of those ones. I've always come to New York with a chip on my shoulder because
Do you?
it's because a lot of people consider New York the Mecca. Like if you
Yeah.
like you might be good in these other places, but you ain't nothing if you
Yeah.
can't make the New York level. So I come in with all right, all right, I approve myself. So it's New York is guaranteed to be a great show because it's not that I don't give my best at every show. You know what I mean? But New York, because of the way New Yorkers are, and the way New York's reputation is for comedy, it pushes you to be your absolute best every
Yeah,
time.
it's true. Because it's the weirdest thing about people in the audience there in New York. It's like they pay to be there, but they still looking at you like,
Yeah. So it's like, oh, that's how you gonna do me? Cool.
like, can you buy tickets here?
Right. Spent $35 to cross your arms like that. Crazy. And it's a strict minimum. That's wild. So it's like, yeah.
Well, we appreciate you so much, and thank you for taking your time out to spend with us and joining this journey. I cannot wait to see. I wish I could be down there in DC this week to see you, but when you come here, we'll be sure to be there.
I got you. I got
All
something.
right. Well, we appreciate you so much, and thank everyone for watching and tuning in to see Ryan Davis and his journey. And although he doesn't think he's hilarious when he's not being paid, but I laughed a lot tonight, so.
Yeah.
That works for me.
I was backstage laughing.
So hopefully you did too, but you'll also be able to laugh if you go check out his show and go to his website and find out where he's going to be in your city. So make sure you do that. Right now, go to the website, follow him on his social media too as well. And Aisha Mahdi said, all right, she's going to be there. So.
Okay.
All right. We thank you. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for joining us. And thank you all for joining us tonight on another episode of Inspire. Ryan's journey in being a comedian has inspired myself, and someone who's tackled the stage. But, it makes you remember in your mind the journey it takes to be where you are. And he's successful because he kept at it and he knew that something inside of him told him that this is what he was supposed to be doing. And that's why he's successful where he is. So make sure you all follow him and check him out on his page. But if you know of anyone who has been an inspiration to you, please email us at inspiredbyanonymous@gmail.com and let us know about their story. Or if you feel like you're the inspiration, email us and let us know their story and let us know your story, and so that we can have you on our show. But if you also want to support our show, this platform is meant to engage our youth and others who want to be inspired. Please support the show by Cash Apping $ Kiana Tennant on Cash App today. You can send $1, $1 million. I think the limit's 5,000. However, we'll take it in increments. But send something today if you can. If not, we wish you all well. We thank you so much for joining us each and every week as we share others' journeys about their inspiration. But until then, I am your host, Sha Hayes. And remember, we inspire together.